So Shukrita,
Hmm.
welcome to this. I really appreciate your being here and really eager to hear about Storyteller Mumbai. Is that something that you created?
The Storyteller Mumbai, yes. If we get right to the name itself, I coined this actually during the pandemic when I wanted to sort of air my podcast. I started a podcast during the pandemic and to reach out. So I thought that the Storyteller Mumbai would be apt because I just wanted to really reach out to people and especially because all of us were cooped up in our homes, and I thought all of us could seek some connection through stories. And so initially, of course, my podcast was I would just pick up stories from different books and like try to narrate some incidents from those books. But later on it evolved to I started writing my own poems. And those poems were sort of resonated with a lot of people, when I spoke about hope and I spoke about how caged we feel in our homes. And so the whole, especially during the pandemic, I wrote a lot of poems. So that was something I would narrate and air on my podcast. But there is like a backstory, actually, Tony, to the whole thing, because my sort of relationship with storytelling began very early, in the sense that even when I was in school, basically I'm born in Mumbai and in a family of artists, actually. And yeah, so we create art objects, especially out of wood. So now when you create an object, we must know story behind it. Indian mythological subjects, like maybe some aspect of the story of Krishna or Ganesha, or you know so I've always been around a household where we used to brainstorm. Like I've seen my grandfather and my father, and talk about, okay, what next should we make it a beautiful wall panel, or what we should create. So so this was very interesting that I always had stories. I was always listening to these stories around me. And so there was even the story of our craftsman, how he would craft a particular piece of wood into and make it this beautiful art object. Yeah, what went behind that. So everything was a story. And especially at the store, when we'd have clients come in, I saw how eventually even I joined the firm. So we explained to the client, like, this is a story behind this art object. So storytelling was, very much, all around me in some sense.
No, I love this idea that stories are embedded in an artwork. That what came first, the artwork or the story? Or did they both
Uh,
come together? Did did the artist, when they're creating the artwork, think of a story first and then put it in the art, or how did that work?
Yes, yes, it did come. The story came first because, for example, like, if you wanted to have a wall panel which depicted the 10 avatars of Vishnu, so each, we sort of, brainstorm the story. Okay, how do you want to depict it? And then we, roughly sketch it out on a piece of paper, and then we'd explain it to our craftsmen, how we could, bring it to life. My grandfather was a sculptor himself, so he's the one who trained all the artists at that time. And so, yes, the stories did come first, and then the artwork. And then the beauty of that was, it's just, it brought everything to life. And it was so beautiful that something just, manifests in front of you. Like, we could make a table lamp which had like depictions of Lord Krishna's life, different aspects of his life. So it was really nice. So now, of course, we do even non-mythological subjects, but yes, our Indian storytelling is very much embedded in our mythology in some sense. So yeah, that's a very, very strong aspect of our storytelling.
So you come from a family of craftspeople and storytellers, it sounds like. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And now let's see how it goes forward, because it's all handwork, and it takes so long to even craft one piece of art. It's really hard work, and the wood craftsman chiseling away. Like I
Mhm.
remember, we had to create a Buddha head, and
Mhm.
the Buddha head had this beautiful, the hair of Lord Buddha was like we did these round, like concentric circles, to make the
Mhm.
hair. And it was a big Buddha head. It was almost like maybe 4 feet or something. Yeah, about 3.5 to 4 feet in height. So it was a really huge piece. Now, just to do the hair of Lord Buddha in very slowly, chiseling away, it almost took a year to make that piece, just
Mhm.
that one piece, because it had to be done carefully and it had to be done so beautifully. So, like everything has, it had to be done in that manner. So even that story behind the artist being so patient and doing it, in his own time, and you can't rush them. It's like they have to be in the right mood and the right environment. So that's why, therefore, our artists are all in the villages in India. They don't come to the urban areas. In the villages, they're comfortable and they're able to be in their comfort zone and do it at their pace. So it is really wonderful. What happened after that is that I took up psychology in school, in college. I did a psychology degree, and then I um, basically thought that I wanted to go deeper into, the human mind fascinates me. So I thought, let's do a little more, and I wanted to do something with children. So then I did a Montessori course, an international Montessori course, and that's where I came to know so much. I learned so much about um, the absorbent mind, and how children from 0 to 6, it's such an important period. And it really fascinated me that I wanted to do more. And that's when I realized I really wanted to work with children, do something for children. And it just was very interesting for me. And so I started working in a preschool, and that was like my sort of like my doorway into storytelling, because that's when I actually got the experience of, reading stories from different books, and we had a lovely library. And I noticed a few things, like when I used to read these beautiful stories to to the children at school. Um, one thing I sort of realized is that, they even the most restless child, even the most, if a child is angry, an angry child, or, a child who's, being a little, who's not able to focus, and, that child would somehow, during the storytelling session, be completely calm, be completely focused. And I saw a shift. I saw that shift, and it was beautiful. And I was like, okay, like, just about 15 minutes back, this child was all over the place, but the story sort of brought them, centered them in some sense. Secondly, I think one of the things, reading these different stories, I realized that stories have universal appeal. Now, these stories obviously were for kindergarten students, but many of these stories sort of appeal to adults as well. I feel there is no though they write this is for so and so age group, I really don't think any story is bound by age in some sense, because, and especially these books which have so much wisdom. In fact, there's a lot of wisdom in the literature that is written today. And uh, it appeals to us as adults as well. And then I thought of question myself, what is it that appeals in such a simple children's book, which with lovely pictures, maybe a few lines, that's it, some of them. So I realized that it was basically, the I realized that we all have an inner child.
Mhm.
And even as we grow older, we have this inner child that is always there, whether we are 6 years old or 60 years old. And that child is sometimes, you know, um, neglected, that child is not seen. And these stories speak to that inner child.
So
Yes, I
I'm really interested in how are the stories told differently, let's say in English versus your native language, the language that you spoke at home as a child. Is there a
Yes.
difference in how the stories are told or the content of the stories, or what do you think?
Not so much the content, to be honest. The content stays the same. Like I know Hindi and Marathi. Hindi is, of course, our main native national language, Hindi, and there's Marathi, which is local because I'm a Maharashtrian that way. So, um, yeah, so the storytelling is content-wise and everything is almost the same. Of course, you can't literally translate when you're trying to,
Yeah.
it's in fact, it's quite a challenge, I would say, to uh, tell a story in the local language. I'm definitely more comfortable with English. So yesterday was World Environment Day. So I wrote a story which I have not yet put out on my website. So it's right out of the oven. The Enchanted Forest. Once upon a time, in the heart of the enchanted forest, there lived a young squirrel named Sammy. Sammy was a curious little fellow, always darting about, exploring every nook and cranny of his forest home. One bright morning, as the sun painted the sky with hues of pink and orange, Sammy scampered up on his favorite oak tree. But something felt different. The air seemed heavy, and the once vibrant leaves drooped with sadness. Sammy's keen senses detected a disturbance in the forest's balance. "What's wrong, dear forest?" he chittered, his tiny voice filled with concern. The wise old owl named Oliver, perched high in the branches above, hooted softly in reply. "The heart stone, young Sammy," she said, her eyes reflecting the wisdom of the ages. "It's lost its glow. Without its light, our forest begins to wither." Sammy's heart sank. The Heartstone, a magical crystal nestled at the heart of the enchanted forest, was the source of all life and balance. Without its radiant energy, the forest would fade into darkness. Determined to restore harmony, Sammy set out on a quest. Through tangled thickets and babbling brooks, he journeyed onward. Along the way, he encountered many friends, old and new. There was Daisy the deer and Whiskers the rabbit. The three of them set out to save the Heartstone. As they walked along, they sang a little tune to alert the other creatures of the forest. "Come along with us, my friend. We need to do some good. The forest is getting sad and bare. It needs to know we care. Let's walk to the Heartstone. It is around the bend. And don't forget to share this story with another friend." As Sammy ventured deeper into the forest, he became attuned to the subtle rhythms of nature. He noticed it getting quiet, as if somehow everything was dying. The silence scared him. At last, after what seemed like many days, Sammy reached the heart of the forest where the Heartstone lay. The Heartstone was dull and lifeless. Well, Sammy looked at it and placed his tiny paw upon the stone. So did Whiskers the rabbit and Daisy the deer. Closing their eyes, they focused on the love and light that flowed through them. And then they saw some images in the hearthstone. They saw the thick air polluted with smoke. They saw the oil spills pollute the waters. And they saw the parched earth dry, and the trees being cut mercilessly, and the wind crying for help. When they opened their eyes, they noticed that many more creatures of the forest had gathered around them. "We must do something," Daisy said, her eyes brimming with tears. "Yes, we must do something," the other creatures echoed back. And the forest echoed a resounding yes. The elephant said, "I shall not break any more branches of the trees." The monkey said, "I will not throw banana peels on the ground." The bear said, what shall I do? Maybe I will not drop some honey on the all around and make a mess around me. I'll be more careful." And the squirrel Sammy said, "I love seeds, so I'll eat a few, but I'll also plant many in the soil so new trees can grow." Like that, each animal pledged their help to restore the forest back. Over a few weeks, the hearthstone slowly began to pulse with renewed energy, a warm, radiant glow that spread throughout the land. As the forest bathed in the light of the rejuvenated hearthstone, Sammy felt peace wash over him. From that day on, Sammy and his friends knew the importance of saving the forest. And so, with a grateful heart, Sammy vowed to cherish and protect the enchanted home for all eternity. He also knew that he had the support of his forest friends. They all came together and they danced to this wonderful tune, saying, "Come along with us, my friend. We need to do some good. The forests need our help. Let's keep our spaces spick and span. And don't forget to share the story with another friend." Thank you so much.